Okay, wonderful students, let's talk turkey. We are in week 5 and it is crunch time. We are almost done. So let me explain where we're headed right now. This video might be a little bit long, sorry, but I want you to understand where we are and where we're headed for the next 2 weeks, okay? Your analysis essay basically is done, right? So you've done the argument breakdown, the discussion board, checkpoint 3, all of this, right? And up to progress check, the unit 2 progress check, you have essentially completed every single part of your analysis essay except for the introduction, the summary, and the evidence portion, right? Which is really only like one paragraph, right, for your essay. So this is where we are. You're at this point, hopefully when we are watching this video, you are halfway through and you have a full week now to be working on the analysis essay, all right? Usually I have it due here because really you're done, but I want you to do a good job as we are simultaneously moving on, okay, and moving into harder concepts. So you know the guy I've been banging my drum and saying week 3 concepts are the most important concepts that you need for this essay, or for this course. Why? Because when you turn in your analysis essay, we are not done with it. Not at all. In fact, when you turn in your analysis essay, don't worry about it. We're going to grade it and be good. But essentially, we're going to use that as a jumping off point to do 2 things. One, we are going to be adding concepts and new critical thinking strategies called evaluation to that essay. And 2, we are going to be finding an additional article that is going to help support our ideas as we move into evaluation in the next 2 weeks. So analysis is your lower kind of thinking skill. It's still really high level, by the way, but your lower level thinking skill, and we're going to bump up into a higher thinking skill of evaluation, okay, as we move forward. Now, let me be very clear. You are still writing all of your assignments, except for the one coming up this week, on the Peter Pischke article. So this analysis essay, we're going to copy it and paste it into a new document. You're going to edit and revise it, and you're going to add on to it here. Peter Pischke is still our main focus. However, we're going to apply some concepts, and we're going to be finding your own additional article with some provisions, of course, in order to help support your ideas. Now, how are we going to use this secondary article? This is the important part. One, we're going to use it to help us find information for our comparative stakeholder sheet that you're submitting this week. Secondly, you're going to be using it for the database exploration assignment, okay? What that means is that you will have very specific guidelines as to what kind of article you can find, where you can find that article, how many years ago the article was published, how long the article is, okay? And whether or not this article is coming from a new perspective. Hold on to that word. So we're also going to be writing a paragraph comparing these author perspectives in this assignment. So this week, really, all the new information that you're working with is going to be really focusing on just the skill of learning how to go through a Delaware Tech database, okay, right in here. We're using SIRS. SIRS looks like this. So if you're having difficulty, we'll talk about that in a second. But essentially what we're doing, so let's pop on back to the schedule, is finding an additional article that you can, in a new perspective, that you can write a paragraph on and go through the exploration, do the crap test, all that good stuff. And then you're going to hold on to that article to use one time, maybe 1 or 2 sentences in this critical evaluation essay later on. Okay? Now, if you don't understand that portion of it yet, don't worry about it. We're going to be working toward it in the next 2 weeks so that you are very clear that this article that you find, you'll use one time in the critical evaluation essay. We're not writing a whole essay on it. We're just writing a paragraph this week. That's it. That's as much as you're going to write on it is a paragraph. Okay? So what are the provisions for this article? First, you heard the word perspective. I want you to go into week 1, into critical reading perspectives here. And I want you to read over again what perspectives are. Your new article must be a different stakeholder and a different perspective than the articles that we've been working on the last 4 weeks. So we have a perspective in Overdosed about a perspective that comes from an author who is coming from a person who is advocating against prescription antidepressants. In Peter Pischke's article, you have a patient's perspective. So I want you to go through the perspectives page to really think about who else is a stakeholder. Who else, what other group, okay? Not pain patients, not advocates against. Who else might be interested in this topic? Insurance companies, the government, mental health professionals, teachers, parents, families, who else might have a perspective on this and be a stakeholder? You're going to find an article according to these provisions here, and you're going to email me your article so that I can approve it before you move forward, okay? Now, moving forward, you're going to then go into week 5. So to find the article, you'll use information literacy and finding credible sources. But then by the end of the week, I want you to make sure that you've gone through all of these pages, okay? So if you're a skip to the assignment kind of person, it's not going to work for you this week, okay? It's really, really specific what we're doing. So in order to complete the database exploration, you're going to need to know about information literacy because it goes through the CRAP test. You'll need to know how to use SIRS and how to find articles in SIRS, okay? You'll need to be able to do this assignment. And then here is their gems. This is how you will complete the paragraph in the database exploration assignment. And here is a massive gift to you guys, which is essentially a framework, okay? Check it out, you guys. It literally takes you through how to write that paragraph step by step and how to write a paragraph using 2 different sources, okay? You can watch all about that in the database exploration video, but essentially, guys, I've given you everything that you need in order to write a stellar paragraph this week and not get confused about how to apply CSET to something new, okay? Now, that's everything that you're working on this week. I just wanted to be really clear that you're finding an additional article on a new perspective, following the provisions listed here, emailing me for approval, and then making sure that you're completing this database exploration so that you can use this article one time in one sentence in your final essay here, okay? Now, if that's confusing to you, set up a Zoom with me or pop in my office and I will be happy to show you how it all works together, okay? Other things that you can do to kind of unconfuse yourself is actually go through the different videos for our upcoming assignments and to really make sure that you're seeing how this all kind of connects together, okay? Woo! Now, where does 11 come in? If you notice, I've got all these pages lined up for you for 11. In English 11, we are simply completing checkpoint number 5. Checkpoint number 5 is just going to be a citations quiz, okay? Where you're going to be looking at how to do references and in-text citations and making sure you're checking your knowledge, all right? All of this is there because you're doing your analysis essay, right? And you've got to have an example for every single concept, okay? As well as be able to talk about different web pages that you found for the credibility section of your essay. So I want to make sure that you guys are really understanding and taking this quiz so that you have in the forefront of your mind when you write your analysis essay that you need in-text citations, okay? Now, what can you do to help you really complete this quiz? Here's what I would do. I would go into our course, okay? And right here is a lovely little page called APA Resources. When you click on it, if you have never seen this before, you got to see it now, right? This is how to cite a database. SIRS is a database. You'll need this page in order to cite your reference for the database exploration assignment coming up on Sunday. You have APA step-by-step videos. So if you are struggling with APA, this is the way to do it. You have an entire page dedicated to in-text citations. So when you go to take your quiz for checkpoint 5 in English 11, you've got it right here, okay? This APA Resources is in both courses for you. And then you have the complete references guide. So since you're going to need to cite different web pages from credibility section, right? You can use this guide to help you. I would go through all of these, keep them open, and then go ahead and take your checkpoint 5 quiz, okay? How else does English 11 fit in this week? You guys check out how much information you have at your fingertips. If you're not using English 11 this week, I would make sure that you're using it because check it out. You have evaluating sources, okay? So information about how to find different sources, how to find a good, how to find and evaluate a good text. It takes you straight through all this information. It also tells you how to integrate source material, okay? And so this tells you how to use 2 sources. Look at this nice little infographic. It tells you how to use 2 sources in your writing. So if the information in English 101 didn't work for you, go here. It also shows you how to use quotes and paraphrases, okay, in a text. So not only is this going to help you with your paragraph in the database exploration assignment, it's going to help you revise your essay for the analysis essay, okay? Other things that are in the English 11 is finally to have an editing comma rules. So oftentimes what I find is a lot of the grammar issues that we have are very common. So guys, go through the videos on comma rules, other uses for comma rules that you can kind of go through here. You can just kind of download this and go through our little PowerPoint here. And you guys, this is easy peasy to then edit and revise your essay. You have a full week to write that analysis essay. So I would highly, highly recommend making sure that you are going over it with a fine-tooth comb, especially since you've written language and you've written credibility at this point, okay? Apply the feedback to then make sure that you're doing your introduction, your summary, and your conclusion and your evidence section all really, really well. One last thing, I know we're at 15 minutes, so hopefully you're watching this on double time. One last thing to remind you as you go to complete your analysis. Let's go into please. Let's go into English 101. Okay. Now, things that you might need are the following. You might need, let's see, in our content, you might need to go back into week 2. Pop on up. It's okay. So you might want to go back into week 2. It doesn't want to show me. Okay. Anyway, you might want to go back into week 2. There we go. And take a look at summary, body paragraphs, right? Introductions and conclusions. You might want to go back into week 1 in order to go into the actual summary, right? Because you'll need a summary for this essay. So you might need to go back into summary writing and just remind yourself about what a proper summary looks like. Okay, so all that information is available to you. One last thing I wanted to share with you is this. Sometimes SIRS and the Delaware Tech databases are not really that awesome, and they're not great about popping up for you when you're at home, okay? So let me refresh your memory. Nothing is responding for me. Let me refresh your memory that in the Start Here area, you have student resources and tutorials that can help you. The IT department you can contact right from here, and it should be able to help you get into SIRS or do whatever it is that you need. So remember, guys, any information that might be a pitfall is going to be available to you there. Okay, looks like my computer's freezing. You're probably exhausted at this point because